Okay, we are live to Facebook and to YouTube. My name's Joe Natanicola. I'm from the Active Lifestyles team at the City Council, and I'm joined today by Phil Mullen. And today's session is Spotlight On, and the gentleman who I'm talking to is our subject today. So, Phil, welcome to Spotlight On yourself.
Right,
It's good to see you.
likewise.
So Phil is the disability officer at Cambridge United Communities Trust. Phil's been in the role for a few years now at the Community Trust, but he's here to speak about his experiences, his background, what's going on at the moment in terms of his work, some of his highlights in the job he's been doing, and then at the end we'll wrap it up as well about talking about how to get hold of Phil and some of the sessions that he's currently got going on as well. So, Phil, we won't hang around. We'll get straight into it. Talk to me about your journey in football and you know, from a younger age and to where you are now.
Well, basically, I grew up in Ireland. Was into Gaelic sports, Gaelic football, but predominantly hurling was my game, which is a small ball and stick game. Probably similar to hockey.
Okay.
But yeah, that was my sport growing up. Although I did love football, and way back then I was a Manchester United fan. Probably mainly because of George Best, given the age there, and yeah, unfortunately, football wasn't played very much at that time in Ireland when I was growing up. It has got a lot more popular now. But I didn't have many opportunities to play football. But I was always out kicking a ball up against the end of the house and doing keepy-uppies and bits and pieces. I got the opportunity to join a team at under 12s when a police sergeant moved from Dublin down to my area. His son played football in Dublin, and he set up a team for his son to play on, and I got asked to play on that, which was great. I think we only lasted one season though when they then moved away, unfortunately.
So there wasn't much of a youth setup then in Ireland at that point, and then it was sort of quite a, you know, it wasn't really growing like it is now with you know, in England, where you've got 7 teams in one club of the same age group sort of thing, and you know how popular it is. So
it was very different. Plus, I was very rural where I grew up as well. So in the towns and cities, there would be more opportunities, but then travel was a barrier. There, able to join them. Yeah, so now it's got a lot more popular, and even in my local area now, we've got our own teams and stuff, which is great to see. Along with all the Gaelic stuff still going on as well.
That was going to be my next question. Is about the hurling and the opportunities to play that as well. Obviously, being quite rural, was that obviously a bigger game being a Gaelic sport? But was it something that you had more opportunities to actually play in those rural areas as well, or did you have to try and travel a little bit further to play that?
They were a lot more popular, a lot more opportunities. It is the national game, so Gaelic football and hurling are both national games in Ireland. The school that I went to was primarily hurling based. 2 miles up the road, the school there was more Gaelic football based, so depending on what school you went to. And as I loved hurling, I was lucky enough to go to the one that done hurling. So it was really, really good. I had lots of opportunities to play. So every break time, there was always a game going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some pretty bad injuries, I'm guessing, with hurling as well, with a small hard ball flying around at pace.
Not with... If you were skilled player and playing against skilled players, then you were all right.
Right.
The trick is to get in close to your player.
Okay.
As the stick is flying, it just goes around you rather than at you. Yeah, so you're perfectly fine. I think the worst I've ever got, I used to play a lot in central defence and quite a bit in goal. The worst ever I got is I got the ball in the throat once.
Oh, wow.
which I was quite annoyed about because I missed stopping it with my stick. And that's the only one time I can remember. So other than that, yeah, no, it's quite safe if you know what you're doing, and those that you're playing against know what they're doing as well.
Yeah, and I guess actually, even though you're playing with a stick, there's probably some quite big similarities to football.
Yeah. Oh, there are rules, guidelines, there are fouls, there are cards, etc.
Yeah.
It's a long-established game. There are rules in place. It is fast. It's skillful. Hurling is, I believe, the fastest field team sport in the world because the speed that the ball can get from one end of the pitch to the other and back at you again. So you got to be alert and watching it all the time.
I can imagine.
I did have the joy of playing for Cambridge University when I was over here as well for a little.
Oh wow!
Which is class.
Amazing.
Playing against Oxford, got it done, especially when you beat them.
Amazing. Yeah. Great. It's always good to beat them.
Yeah.
So you've sort of gone through your childhood not playing a lot of football. You managed to play at under 12s, still playing your hurling. What happened after
that? Age takes over, and you're not quite as quick. Family started then. I was working in construction. Family started then, and when my boys started showing an interest in football, I tried to source clubs that were looking for players and wanted to support my boys. Where I found that a lot of parents were bringing their kids to training, dropping their kids off, and then collecting them an hour later. I prefer to stop and watch. One, I was interested in football as a fan and seeing what the kids were doing and what they were learning and how the coaches and managers were coaching them, what they were teaching, etc. Plus, I noticed that when they were doing the drills, sometimes a ball would go out of play. So I would go and fetch the ball and bring it back to them so they could get another ball and kept the session live for them. And I just enjoyed helping out and seeing the kids progress. The coach and manager then were going on CDP events and things like that to upskill their learning. They told me, you won't get anything out of it, but we'd love you to come with us. So I joined them on some of them and loved what I learned there as well. And it sort of grew from there. You get then asked to do other tasks like helping put the nets up and the corner flags out, and the usual. Tying the bootlaces.
That's it.
General things. Which was really good. And I loved the team camaraderie then between the kids and the other parents, etc., that were there as well. So it was really nice time.
So was this prior to coming to England or after coming to England?
This was after coming to England.
After coming to England. So this is now in Cambridge, is it?
This is now in Cambridge, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Question were Cherry Hinton Lions.
Yeah.
And it was Dave Birch that was the manager for my youngest son's team. That were really good.
Awesome. So did you ever take on any of the management roles within the youth football? Were you purely just there to sort of support your son and do some of the sort of the helping around the club?
I started off obviously purely to support my sons in their journey. And then it was such a good vibe. Dave Birch and Aaron had such a good vibe at that session that we were getting loads of other kids that were coming to the training sessions. But the management already had their core team and were loyal to their team. And then we had these other kids that were coming along, loving the sessions, but weren't going to get much match time. Because they had to be loyal to the kids that had been loyal to them.
Yeah.
And we found out then that we had a B team that was run by Barry Launder and Icalio at the time. And they had a few extra kids that were coming along to their session as well, which is another good group. So we decided to start another team to give these kids their crack at the whip and a little bit of match time as well. So I volunteered to manage a C team for them for a little while.
Awesome.
Which again was brilliant. And see these kids finally get their chance, after coming along to all these training sessions, to give them the chance and opportunity to do it in a proper match was brilliant.
Yeah.
We got very lucky as well. We got offered the Cambridge Stadium.
Oh yeah.
The home ground for one season, which was
that's down the Trumpeton Road, isn't it? That one there. That's it. Yeah, it's good down there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was really nice. It was really nice. They looked
awesome. Well, because Cherry Hinton Lions, I think now have got so many teams. I mean, they've grown massively, and I think the same for Chesterton Eagles and for Trumpington. They've got so many teams now; it's unreal. And I think that the biggest problem they're facing now is pitch space and time to get any grounds. I think it's always going to be a problem in the city, but it's nice to see there's so many kids playing. Which is the main thing, isn't it? And so many people volunteering their time to actually get the games on for the kids and doing the training and stuff. So it's great to see that it's thriving. That's what that's the main thing, isn't it? Yeah. But let's talk about your time now at the Community Trust. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've been there since about 2012. Am I right?
Yeah.
So how did you get into that role? I mean, I'm guessing that your little stint at Cherry Hinton Lions helped you.
I was then helping out a friend who was doing a local five-a-side league, Mavericks. Young man called Abid. He's a good friend of mine, Abid. So I was helping him out with his five-a-side league. He was coaching and running the disability sessions for Cambridge FA at the time. He knew that I was into football. I'd already started on my coaching badges at the time. He called me up wanting a favour early one Saturday morning. He had a three-legged cat that had an accident or incident that needed an emergency visit to the vets.
Oh, wow.
And he was in a bit of a bad way and said, look, I'm really sorry, Phil, to call you at this hour, but would you be able to do me a favour and just look after this disability group that I usually coach? He said, they're a lovely group. They all know what they're doing. He said, just bring a handful of footballs with you and they'll be fine. So I was really nervous. I've got to be honest. I was really nervous at first, but didn't want to let him down. So I agreed, went along, and literally from walking in the door, about 10 minutes into the session, I was absolutely buzzing, loving it. It was great. There was a great atmosphere there. It seemed very different to mainstream football as well. And I just had the bug straight away and been loving it ever since.
It's a shame that it's a shame, but it's also great that his misfortune with the cat was actually a benefit to you to get you into where you wanted to get to. So I guess in a funny sort of way, thanks to the cat, but you know, but it's...
I believe the cat did make a full recovery as well.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Well, that's a nice story because, you know, I think sometimes it's one of those things that just sort of falls on your plate, isn't it? And you think, I've just got to do it and just see how I get on. And you're right, doing something that you've never done before and working with a crowd that you're not sure how to work with can be quite daunting. And I think I've been the same as well in my coaching journeys. And you do think to yourself, come on, you can do this. Yeah. And then once you've sort of, like you say, you get there, you settle in, you're thinking, no, come on, this is me. This is great. I love doing this. You know, why did I ever doubt myself? You know, it's really weird what your mind does to you in them sort of situations, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I mean, straight away after the session, Abid called me up to ask, you know, was it okay? Was everything all right? Was everybody happy? And I said, yeah, I think everybody really enjoyed it. And I said, more so I did too. And so I said, you know, ever you need any more help again, give me first shout. You know what I mean? It was brilliant, you know, so I'd love to do it again. And yeah, lo and behold, a few weeks later, I got another call and it's just grew since then.
That's amazing. And I guess then your time then with the Community Trust came along.
Yeah, when the FA then wanted a support from a local club, Cambridge United stood up via the Community Trust to help out and keep the sessions going, which is great. And then I got called in for an interview as well, as I was involved. which went really well. And it was an interview with Jez George and Danny Kerrigan at the time. Soon became apparent in the meeting that they wanted disability to flourish and grow just the same as I did. They ticked all the right boxes. Everything they said was good and positive. And it was pretty much a no-brainer. Yeah, so happy days since then.
That must have been quite early on in the infancy, if you like, of the Community Trust when you joined.
That was, yeah, because I think they were only set up in 2010, I think.
Yeah, I think that was about right, wasn't it? So they're still relatively new, and it's amazing how far they've come. I mean, when you think about the members of staff that you guys have got now over there, and you think, I can't keep up with who's doing what these days because there's so many people. So it's great to see that it's thriving.
Yeah.
So you've been doing disability sport ever since, disability football.
Yeah.
But I know you've obviously dipped into the world of walking sports as well.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about walking football as well as some of the disability sessions that you've got.
I think that football should be played by everybody. Everybody should have the opportunity to participate. A lot of the trouble that you can get is, if you take my story, I was playing veterans football for a local team, Ridgeons. And when I got into my mid-40s, I was never known for my top speed, but by the time I got to mid-40s, it became even less. Our manager, John Shannon, lovely guy, and a lot of our teammates were the older end of the plus 35. You qualify for vets at 35 years of age and above. I was 45 at the time, and I was considered the runner of the team. Probably set it home. Our average age, I think, as a team at that time was somewhere around 65 years of age.
Wow.
There are some teams, their older players would have been about 40. So we were trying to compete and play against these kids, as we called them, of 35, 36-year-olds who were just like whippets compared to us. So we were lucky to get the odd touch of the ball, let alone a goal. So we wanted something that was a bit different, a bit fairer. So we came up with the 50 plus. I mean, John Shannon at the time was pushing for it way back when. Just to make it a little bit fairer for those in the older age group. And it's a bit of a leveler. If you can have a game of football where people of a ability is matched against somebody similar to them, then everybody's the same. Everybody's got a fair chance. It then becomes more competitive. And by human nature, when it's competitive, it becomes more fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So having the leveler of the 50 plus being a good leveler, it's brilliant. Then more people can get involved. We've had, I think probably Derek Wall is still probably our oldest at the age of 86.
Wow.
And he could hold his own on the pitch.
Yeah, fair play.
And seemed to enjoy it. So we actually had at some of our sessions, we had Derek as the grandfather, his son Simon, who's also a colleague of mine at the trust, and two of his grandsons playing on the same game.
Amazing.
Which is quite interesting when you hear the phrase, "Pass the ball, Grandad."
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was really good fun.
Great. I can't imagine seeing a game of football with an 86-year-old running around.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going strong now. I mean, Thursday, it was a little bit frosty this last few weeks, so we're not getting everybody that generally comes every week, but we're still getting, like, I think we had 25 to 30 players come last Thursday. So
incredible.
Night we had two games going, and we had a walking football game where you are not allowed to jog, skip, or run at all. You must have one foot in contact with the floor at all times. The ball isn't allowed over head height. And it's still very competitive. You've got to adjust how you play. Passing accuracy has got to be more spot on because they can't run after it.
Mm-hmm.
And then alongside that, we also had what we call a super vets running permitted game. So we had the two games, one on one pitch and one on a pitch adjacent to it, where we were allowed to lob the ball high, run after it as much as we like. So we're trying to cater for all the different levels of people. And basically when people turn up to that one, we let them take their choice, which games you want to play on, walking football on this pitch, running permitted on that one, and let the players take their choice. And away you go and have fun, basically.
Do they tend to swap over sort of halfway through the session? If they're doing the running permitted game, do they think I could do with a bit of a breather and they'll go on to the walking game? Or is it sort of do they tend to sort of go no, I'm going to keep running, I'm going to keep myself going in this one?
Again, it's down to personal choice of those that turn up. We do have some that have swapped over.
Okay.
Or halfway between, like you say, if they need a blower. Walking one, which isn't really a blower, but don't tell them. It's surprisingly how energetic it can be when it is competitive. People think, oh, it's just walking, but until you try it, it's worth trying to find out. I've had that happen before, where we opened up a session to younger players. And when I first started doing walking football, I was getting a lot of grief from my young sons at home, saying, "Oh, Dad, you're one of the old men now. You know what I mean? All that walking and that, you wouldn't be able to keep up with us." I said, "Well, it's walking football, lads, but don't dish it until you try it."
Yeah.
So I invited them to come along with me one evening, and there was a few sons of some of the other players that we invited to come along as well, and we played the young kids versus the dads.
Mm-hmm.
The young kids done quite well for the first 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Were able to use their youth and agility against us. But after about 10 minutes, when the game settled down a bit, us old boys just spread out and we let the ball do the work, where the kids were still trying to chase the ball.
Yeah.
So we were just passing the ball about, getting into good space early, passing the ball about, and wipe the floor with them. Somebody's got to be
it's experience. Experience takes over, doesn't it?
It is. And that's the beauty of the game as well, that having these things like the walking football, the super vets and that, it does bring back in the experience, and it is literally about 5-10 minutes of a person playing. You can see that, this person knows their game. They've been there before. They've built up like years and years of experience and knowledge, and then being able to use that and still be able to be beneficial on the pitch and put it to good use and get some really good players.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Really good game. Yeah.
And it's amazing, isn't it, how a walking sport can be so competitive as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, you just think, well, it is just walking. Like I was, when I first sort of heard about it, I was a bit like your lads and thought, it's just walking. How can it be competitive or anything like that? But I can see now, you just explained about, using experience and using sort of the nous of sort of those from thinking back to younger years and how they used to running around and play the game. And now it's about, we use our space, we use our heads a bit more, and we create chances that way.
And it's energetic as well. I have read somewhere that a brisk walk is a better fat burner than a jog or a run. And when you get two players of a similar ability that are matched against each other going for a loose ball, you're surprised how quick a fast walk can be and how and that can happen quite a lot in a match.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because you're focused on the ball, you're not noticing how much or how hard you're working. yeah, so it's really good. And you see people coming off the pitch after a game of walking football, and they're blowing.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
Good workout.
Yeah, that's good, and they've obviously had a good time as well. So that's
Yeah.
and it's obviously a lot easier on the knees, and when you get older, and that it's a bit more gentle, but at the same time, like you say, it's still got that competitive element, which helps, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess my next question would be about the disability sessions and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm guessing that to a point you probably still introduce a bit of walking football into that, but I'm guessing a lot of the guys just want to run around and play normal football as it is, I guess. Tell us about some of the groups you work with, Phil.
I've got Down syndrome football, cerebral palsy, an underage mixed pan group, female group, learning disabilities, autism, power chair, deaf, hearing impaired, blind, visually impaired. I'm just trying to cater for everybody that wants to get involved, that wants to have an opportunity. If there's enough interest, we'll try and make an opportunity for them.
Yeah. And with that comes a lot of things like the difference in equipment that you need. When we're talking about blind football, we're talking about, balls with the bells in and that sort of thing, aren't we, as well? And a completely different way of coaching and that sort of thing as well. So, I mean, how do you find each group? How do you sort of change your way of coaching or running a session depending on the group? Do you sort of have to really think about it, or does it sort of come as second nature now?
It probably comes a little bit second nature now to me, because I've been doing it for quite a while. But it's every individual that comes, they are an individual, and I am still constantly learning and learning every day, every session that I go to. And it's when a person first comes to a session, it's about learning that person, learning their likes, learning their dislikes, learning their abilities, what they can do, and then that's my starting point to build on from there. And it's just, I'm really lucky, because people that do come to all my sessions, be it walking, be it mainstream, be it disability or whatever, like people that come are just amazing, really. It's getting to know the people, and you can't knock it. It's brilliant. Sport can bring out the best in people if used properly as well. I will use sport and football differently depending on who I'm working for. Like if I'm working with my frame users, because I do football for those that use walking frames. In that one, I tend to do a lot of focus on the physio, but it is hidden in under the football umbrella. So to the kids that are coming, they will believe that they are doing football and football tricks and moves and skills, where in actual fact I'm watching and helping them with the movement, the coordination, the motor skills, the balance, etc. That particular session is a little bit of a victim of its own success, really, because a lot of the players that come have now managed to build in strength and mobility, etc. That we've got quite a lot of independent walkers.
Wow.
Which is great to see.
Oh, amazing.
It's I have had parents who say, well, my child now isn't really a frame user because they've started to using the quad sticks instead of the frame. I said, that's brilliant.
Okay. Yeah.
If they use a quad stick, I'm not going to put them in a frame. They'll use the quad sticks, and then we're going to push their personal development till they can use the tripods and then the mono sticks. And it's about the player and the player's needs. I've had like little Bryson say, he's a frame user that I've been working with for a number of years. He said, I just want to be like everybody else. I want to be able to walk like everybody else. I want to be able to play like everybody else. I've been working with Bryson since, let's see, when I first met Bryson, he had only just turned 4. He's now 9. Lovely lad, massive Chelsea fan. Very funny little fella. I have great time for him. but now he's started taking his first independent steps, and it is brilliant to see.
Amazing.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah, you can't knock that.
I mean, these must be just true highlights of the job in terms of you know what you want to try and achieve out of your role, and seeing that happen. It must just bring so much joy to you, but also, you know, it's a massive sort of it's a pat on the back to the guy, you know, to those guys in the sessions as well, because, you know, they obviously they've got the drive to want to walk again, and, you know, want to try and build up their strength and their muscles and coordination, balance, etc. So it's a massive sort of pat on the back to those guys as well. But it must be a huge highlight for you in your career.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love seeing it, but like you say, it is all about the players. It has to come from them. I offer the opportunity to them, the chance, but it's up to the players whether they want to take it or not. And it is brilliant when they do. It is brilliant when they do. It's also a big shout out to all the parents and carers out there, because it's a lot of time and a lot of commitment from them as well. Without their time and their commitment, their drive, because everybody's special. Nobody wants to see their kid put in harm's way, etc. So there's a lot of fear involved in bringing a child to the first session. It must be very worrying, but they're brave enough to come, have a look, see, let their child have a little go, and then when they see that it is good, disability football is different, it's much more friendly, it's much more relaxed, and when they learn what disability football is like, it then snowballs in a positive way. But that parent or carer makes a huge commitment, travel-wise, time-wise, staying there with them for the whole session and travelling back home and rearranging what could in effect be their free spare time as well.
Definitely.
Their child. So their parents, carers, and the players are my stars.
It's almost like it needs a group of people to really gel together, doesn't it, to make everything work well? You know, like you say, yourself, the individuals, the participants, their parents and carers, and everything needs to sort of marry up and fit in that jigsaw for that success, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's really important. I mean, I remember doing some disability football years and years ago, and we had like you said, the most brilliant parents, and it almost the kids were fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but the parents as well, like their support and their willingness to get involved and to really push the program forward and that sort of thing was just incredible. And, you know, they just got so much passion for getting their kids out there to get to first of all enjoy themselves, but second of all, if it can help them in any way, shape or form, you know, with their disability, then they're going to jump at the chance. And that's but you know, first and foremost, they were looking for somewhere that they can bring their child to have loads of fun and enjoy themselves.
And I want parents and carers to get something back out of it too as well. A lot of times, like, I'll ask them to join in into sessions so that, you know, they can actually play with, alongside, or against, because a lot of the kids like playing against mum and dads just the same. So a lot of times in the sessions we have the kids versus mums and dads. Plus, when it's impairment specific, it's bringing birds of a feather together, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
And it's building a support group where the parents, carers can speak to each other, share ideas, share a little bit of support. What has worked for one kid who's now older, oh, this worked well for us, you know, pass it on to somebody else who's coming up to that phase in their life. So it's sharing, helping, caring, basically.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing. I think my next question is going to be about the future, and I'm sure that you've still got loads of ideas yourself and the community trust around disability sports and football. So how do you see, or where do you think the next sort of stages in the disability football workload at Cambridge United Community Trust?
Well, as you say, I've got loads of ideas, and it's player driven. Depending on what the players want, where the players want to go to, I want to try and help and support them with that. I've got some players that are now good enough and are on the England talent pathway, so trying to help them develop further.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got Zoe, who's a young lady who I met when she was out shopping in Cambridge. She was in a queue waiting to go to a shop. I noticed that she had her cane sticking out of her handbag that she had on her shoulder.
Ah, yes, I think I've seen Zoe before. Yeah, I see a lot on the Cambridge United website and things like that. It's yes,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah. So it was. I noticed the cane. Thought, oh, she's young enough. She can kick a ball about. I'll take a chance. So she, yeah, bless her. She had this weirdo coming up asking her out of the blue if she wanted to come and football. But it was a very positive young lady. Took my card, contacted me, say, actually, I'd like to have a go.
Yeah, good.
So she came along. She had a go. Done really well, loved it, came back, had another go, and it grew from there. And fair play to her, she's made the most of the opportunity that was there for her and is doing really well. I do have other players that have gone through on the talent pathway, like in CP. You've got young Thomas Ratban, very talented young man, and yeah, brilliant.
Amazing. Awesome. So I guess we're going to start to sort of wrap up and just ask you about how people can contact you, Phil.
I can be contacted directly on my mobile on 07948 407 950 or by email at phil.mullen@cambridge-united.co.uk, or again via the Cambridge United Community Trust website, www.cuctrust.co.uk.
Awesome. And just run through again the sessions that you've got going on. I know there's a hell of a list there that you mentioned earlier, but just so that we can get that back out there to the people.
Okay.
Best of your ability, anyway.
For the disability, I've got Saturdays start with Down syndrome football, followed by cerebral palsy, then an under-8 pan mixed disability session. We then have a cerebral palsy 16 plus and pan session, then a female football session. Sundays we've got a ASD intermediate. That's intermediate by age, so it's what 9 to 15-year-olds, so only 9 to 15. ASD, which is then followed by a 16 plus ASD. We then have our frame football session for frame users and new independent walkers, just to help them progress a little bit.
Yeah.
We then have our VI football session for those with a visual impairment, followed by our blind football, and then bi-weekly we have a power chair football session. Mondays we've got a deaf hearing impaired session over at Cottenham for those that are 9 to 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
Tuesdays we've got centre school session during the day. We've got an amputee and pan session from 8 o'clock of an evening. Wednesdays we've got a free session for adults with learning disabilities at the Abbey Astro. Thursday we've got another autistic session, which is outdoors over at Orchard Park for those that are 16 to 25-year-olds. But yeah, contact me should you have any requirements that don't fall under that, and we'll sort out a session that you can attend. If there's enough interest, we'll start another impairment specific session for that, if there is enough interest there. But we've always found a way to include everybody so far.
Sounds great. Awesome. Phil, thanks ever so much for your time. Thanks for the chat. It's been great to get to know you, get to know your work, with the community trust, and I hope it continues to thrive and get more popular as time goes on.
Thanks very much, Joe. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Phil. Take care.
And you, ta.